On today's starting nine, Jake and Carl come back from a well-received and deserved break to get into all the Major League Baseball action you guys may or may not have missed over July 4th holiday week. Also joining us, shortstop, Atlanta Brave, Dansby Swanson, a first ballot Hall of Fame baseball guy. We're going to have a great show. Let's get into it, boys. Action! And welcome back to Starting Nine. This is Carl here in Chicago. We've got Colin Cooper in New York and Snake out in Austin. I saw you surfing over the week. Welcome back. It's been a while. I hope everybody's doing well.
Doing really good. It feels like it's been a month, but in the time since we last spoke, I couldn't get up on the board at all. Could not surf. And now, I'm surfing no rope. I just bought a new board. I'm working on a 360, so I'm a quick learner. So I'm very proud of myself. Cooper got up on the board last night for the first time. We surfed until 9:30. He's like, Dad, one more run. I'm like, dude, the alligator gar are going to be kind of swimming around. I don't know if you want to be in the water for that. Mm-hmm. So, but we had a beautiful week. Very happy 4th of July, and glad to be back. Yep. Glad to be back doing shows with you and Colin. How was your week? How was the time off?
I played a lot of average golf. Low round 78. Fuck this. No, dude.
That's good.
Listen, I had an albatross. Listen to me. I had an albatross.
You had a 2 on a 5?
465-yard, par 5, paw, public course in Michigan. My brother and I are playing. Had a witness with me. Wind at my back, about a 265, 270-yard drive, catch and roll, hard ground. And I'm about 205 out from the stick. I get a 6-iron on accident. I mean to hit the 5-iron nice and low and run it up there. I hit a 6. I catch it absolutely perfect, bounces, and I'm playing a logo ball. So it's like one of those like vacation logo balls. So while we're checking in, I was like, hey, let me get a paw ball. So I only have one of these logo balls in my bag, so I knew my brother couldn't be fucking with me. We spent like 5-10 minutes looking around the green for the ball because I was like, dude, I'm not giving up this shot.
Yeah,
I'm not dropping.
Last place you're going to look is the hole. Like, you think there's no way I just made this?
I've probably walked past 200 holes in my life, 300 holes in my life, being like, maybe the ball's in here. Knowing
heavy F's from you.
Sorry. Are we?
It's okay. Keep it rolling. You're passionate about the story. Keep going.
I know. It's just the albatross doesn't happen very often, so I'll peel it back. I trust Colin took a couple of the F's out already, and I know that when I saw it in the hole, I just lost my mind. I just was going nuts. I was so excited that I couldn't even get excited. And my brother's like, "Why are you not excited?" I said, "I'm so excited. I've lost my mind."
I would have done the same thing, and then I would have doubled the next hole. How was the next hole?
So the next hole is a drivable par 4, and being the idiot I am, I hit the albatross ball, and it almost went out of bounds over the green because I was just so jacked up. I hit an absolute missile bomb, and we found it like up against the fence, and my brother almost beat the crap out of me for playing the albatross ball. He's like, how stupid are you? You got to be the stupidest guy I've ever met.
So what did he want you to do? Like, just keep that ball, not like frame it, never use it again?
That ball goes back in the bag, man. You can't be throwing a 2 on a 5 around. Now, I shouldn't say never, but a hole-in-one is such a tremendous accomplishment, and people say the albatross is significantly more difficult. So
I believe by the numbers, it's much more likely to get a hole-in-one, correct, than an albatross.
Yeah.
But there's just something about the one, the elusive one.
I want the one. I want the 2.
I want the one. My grandfather, he passed several years ago, but he had like 5 or 6 hole-in-ones. I'm like, what? Come on.
I just got a bad cramp.
You did? I had one in the middle of the night, like in a really weird spot, kind of low calf inside, like not even the meat of the calf, like closer to the ankle. Woke me up about 2:45. I fell asleep on Lackey's couch. Woke up with just an insane cramp. But doing better today. But talking about golf, I haven't played since the last time I played with you.
No.
It's been, almost 2 months or something like that. I just have not played golf. I know it's It's not good. It's not good. But we've been doing so many other things, and kids are out of school for the summer. There's just so much to do, so much going on, and it's 106 degrees like every day here right now. So if you don't tee off at 7, I mean you're in need of an IV by the turn. But yeah,
Or
man,
you'll be waking up in the middle of the night with the cramp. I mean, are these are surfing cramps? Have you heard of surfing cramps?
no, they are surfing cramps, and we're out there all day, and not drinking enough water. Yeah,
Couple
100% surfing
seltzers,
cramps.
couple seltzers.
Couple seltzers. Yeah, yeah. I've been a bad boy. Bad boy.
I've been into margaritas lately. I can't. It's just it gets hot, and then I just start
Making your own?
Pre-made. Yeah, I'm pathetic.
Pre-made. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. Oh, and it can. And it can.
Hey, speaking of which, can we talk about nice additions to the family that were made over this week? My buddy, Eric Telly, shout out Telly, was like, dude, I see that you are killing it on the green egg. You're always posting green egg stuff. This is a very good friend of mine. Big spender. Sent me this. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're going to see this knife. This is dangerous. Look at this knife. This is a Japanese.
No way. No way.
It's a Japanese steak knife, and it cuts. I think it like cut the cutting board. So.
Brittany, bring the knives. I got to show you mine.
Don't
Dude,
just.
We just talked about this before the show. I just told you I bought a brand new set of Japanese kitchen knives. I'm going to see if she's sweet enough to bring me my set. And I bought this badass like leather case they all fold up into, because the knives are they're too sharp just to have sitting in the drawer. You know what I'm saying? Like they got to be in they got to be sheathed or that is phenomenal. So your buddy bought you this knife?
Yeah, it's like a $200.
That's definitely, yeah. So we go to this place yesterday. So my mother-in-law wanted to take me. It's called Austin Blades. And she's borderline hoarder. She's got like 7 sets of Japanese kitchen knives. I'm like, well, you don't even really cook all that much, but well, whatever. We'll inherit them one day, so we'll get them. But I go in there. I'm looking at all these Japanese knives, and I pick one off of. They're on like this metal like magnetic deal, like up on the wall. I take a look at one. I'm like, yeah, I'll take the whole set. It's like 12 knives. They're like $200 a piece. But he's starting to box the one. I'm like, no, I need the paring knife. I need the butcher knife. I need the one that's in like a big rectangle. I don't even know what that one's called. You got to have. It's a butcher. Well, that's a butcher knife.
The cleaver.
That's yeah. It's like the rectangular blade. So
yeah, that's like that's a Jeffrey Dahmer one when you're chopping up the bodies with that one.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're primarily for carving up like big fish, but it's basically gonna be used on red meat and some chicken, and then the guys, I'm like, I need a sharpening setup. I need like the Whetstone. I need the leather strop. And he's like, well, you can just bring it into in the shop and I'll sharpen it for you. I'm like, dude, I like to do everything myself. I want to be able to sharpen my own blades. Just show me what I need and box it up. Let's get this going.
I can see you getting one of those medieval stones that like turns on a wheel, and you sit
where
there
you got to
crank
grind
your
it
foot.
yourself.
Yeah, and you just sharpen that and hold it at a 22-degree angle. I did my research on this blade. The best sharp is between. Knife. I think it's for most knives on a whetstone are between a 17 and 22-degree angle.
So this blade I'm holding here, if you're not watching on YouTube, this is a Pro Tech. It's a beautiful knife. I think these are different angles, so it depends on the knife. You want those Japanese knives to be extremely, extremely sharp. So I think the angle is slightly different. These are still sharp, but you don't want it quite as sharp as that. And then,
do you own any samurai blades? I can see you having a samurai blade on the wall for no reason. Whoa, what is this guy? Stainless steel.
This is the Zero Tolerance. I picked this one up yesterday. It's another beautiful, little everyday carry. But again, very sharp. I was just shaving my arms a little bit to make sure it's sharp. Yeah, but it's definitely a different angle. Different angle than the Japanese blade. Dude, that'll cut like right through like a piece of leather.
It's great.
It's
great to feel
knife.
now that I've felt that power in my hands, now that I know what it's like, it feels good. Hey, we should remind our audience, Dansby Swanson's going to jump on the show in a little bit with us. We had a great conversation with Dansby. We'll promo that in a second, but just hang with us. We're going to get to some stuff around the league, but I still want to keep it's been a little bit for the boys. So
yeah, let's catch up. Don't shortchange me on the small talk.
I know where your heart lies, and it's at Lake Austin right now. It's with the big house. We've talked before about this. I'm interested. What's going on?
Did you got the knives? Oh, we go get them? Yeah. Oh, here. She's going to get them for me. Bring them in. Sorry.
Just a great mom, just a great wife, a great woman, Brittany. Thank you. The knives are in studio. This is the first time ever live on Starting 9 to do a Japanese full knife set review. Again, these were just recently purchased. These things are as sharp as the Baltimore Orioles right now, who cannot lose a game. These are sharper than the Mariners.
So this is just like, it reminds me of Indiana Jones.
Look at this case.
I mean, it's
subscribe to YouTube. Oh!
And it was in the car for a while, so it's nice and warm. The leather is soft.
Smell the leather for me.
Let's see. The company is called Boldrick. I don't know shit about Boldrick, but I saw it on the shelf, and it just it's got nice, leather that's got weight to it. And it's got it's the dark brown leather with the gold buckles. It just felt like the right move. Brittany didn't actually come into the knife store with us. It was just me and my mother-in-law, which is the right move, so I could spend a little extra. So I don't want to cut myself, but let's find this blade here. Let's find this blade. Okay. And this company is called Shun. It's a Japanese company. We're going to just take one of these guys out.
Whoa!
So there it is.
I mean, this ain't no joke, folks. If you're not subscribed to YouTube, we're doing full knife reviews here. Starting 9's been gone for 2 weeks. And we're just with the sharp stuff here.
Look at
wow, this. Look at us.
Look at the lines.
Your lines are way bigger than mine.
Very, very, very good knife. Okay.
You have more lines than me.
Well, it's a much larger blade.
Yeah, that's a nice.
So that's a good one. The other ones are still in the cases. I'll leave those in there for the time being. But I'm excited to get going.
Colin, look at Colin.
Colin with a nice piece of plastic cutlery. Yeah. Very, very cool that we both, have a Japanese blade on the show.
Not just like we just got Japanese, like we got Japanese blades and then we brought them to the recording. All right, let's talk about Japanese baseball players for a second. Shohei Ohtani. I thought that was a fair transition. Before we do, though, I want to thank our good friends at Roman Swipes. Roman has stepped up and backed Starting 9 because they know that the guys on this show, we want you to have good sex. We have good sex. We want you hard as a rock, hard as a whetstone, knife sharpening rock. And who doesn't want to last longer in the summer? Summer nights, a good TV show, an awesome concert. You just want stuff to last longer in the summer. Days are longer. Your boner should be longer. Roman wants you to last longer in bed, 340% better in bed. Roman swipes are the secret to longer-lasting sex. They're uniquely formulated to reduce overstimulation without eliminating sensation altogether. Super easy-to-use swipes. Take the swipe out, apply, let it to dry. 5 minutes. Enjoy longer-lasting sex. I use swipes all the time for good long, hard sex. Out of the packet, swipe it on, let it dry. You're good to go. We're giving you guys 5 months swipes. Your first month of swipes, just $5. It's a nice deal. GetRoman.com. That's GetRoman.com/starting. GetRoman.com/starting to get your first month of swipes for just $5 when you choose a monthly plan. I'm going to give you a couple things here off the top. You tell me what you want to talk about right here. All right, ready? Javi Baez almost got into a fight with Amir Garrett. Sandy Alcantara is the best pitcher in baseball. Pujols and Miguel Cabrera going to the All-Star game. Keith Hernandez, should he be a Hall of Famer? Jock Peterson named to the All-Star game. Chris Sale in a minor league comeback fucking wrecked. Absolutely just wrecked a bunch of shit. Scherzer's coming back, and ever since Aaron Judge settled arbitration, he's been playing like shit.
I think we should probably get into bits and pieces of all of that. That's all very, very juicy stuff. What stood out to me, maybe I just need a little more clarity on the Chris Sale situation. Talk to
So
me about this.
yeah, so he was pitching for, I want to say it was like the Sea Dogs, the Portland Sea Dogs or something. And he comes off, I don't know exactly what the controversy was, if he got screwed on a call. I think it's more him own and how he was, like his anger usually is just within his own, is within himself. And he came off and he just went right down the tunnel and he just started smashing stuff on the walls and started fucking, I think broke like a TV in the clubhouse and just had a full blown temper tantrum and then walked back in the dugout like just had to get that off my chest. Now you weren't, I know you would get fired up and pissed off, but I feel like some pitchers can do that and that benefits, that's a great fucking knife. Just talk about sharp. Chris, that's the Chris Sale slider of knives.
Chris Sale, look, I know him and I would be boys because we have mutual friends, mutual very good friends. But I don't know Chris Sale personally well. But I kind of like that. You know, he's kind of guy. See, and then I know he's very mellow, but maybe has a little bit of that John Lackey mentality in him when he gets into that competitive mode where the juices are flowing, and sometimes it's hard to dial it back or rein that kind of stuff in. So you just kind of let Chris Sale be Chris Sale. If he broke a TV, so what? He'll pay for it. It's not that big of a deal. But obviously,
You'll like what he did. You like what he did? He took the boys out to dinner, dropped $6,000 on a dinner for the minor leaguers.
Of course he did. I've got some. I've heard some amazing things about Chris Sale. I'm not going to get into a lot of that on the show. But yeah, I know his generosity is through the roof. And he's a show player. He's a show veteran player. Man, he's battled a lot of injuries. I'd love to see him healthy because when he is, he's one of the best arms we got.
And speaking of healthy, Jock Peterson, healthy, putting up a clinic this year. He's going to the All-Star game. I just love that swag. I remember the first time I got truly introduced to Jock Peterson was his, don't lick the knife, was when he got when he was in the home run derby a couple of years ago. And it was like the first time I remember getting big exposure to him. Was like, this guy was just made to be sweet and hit bombs. And obviously got to see him more last year in Chicago when he was playing with the Cubs, and he's just one of those guys when he's hot. He's just so hot. He's so cool.
And he's just an easy guy to root for, too. I know him personally well, and he's a great clubhouse guy. I mean, if shit isn't going well as a team, like Jock is one of those personalities that brings everybody up, right? In moments that seem to have no bright side. That's the kind of guy he is. And very happy that he's performing the way he is, man. He deserves it more than anybody. And I'll tell you what, the guy can play cards. He's a good poker player. He's taken a lot of dudes' money. It's funny to watch. So be careful if you wanna square off against Jock head to head. You better be fucking ready to play some cards.
See, now this is the type of shit I live for, because that's the inside where it's like, how's this guy? It's Jock. How's he end up getting slapped by a time? Well, I mean, the guy's a gamer. Speaking of gamers, I don't want to freak you out too much, but you were a freshman in high school when Albert Pujols made his MLB debut, and he's playing in the All-Star game next week.
Truly amazing. Well-deserved. He should be there, him and Cabrera. I don't necessarily know, the commissioner's office can they vote? How many guys can they vote in? Can they do whatever they want? I'm not saying it's not a good idea. I'm just not sure of how all that works. I think both of them deserve to be there for the game of baseball. Just really fucking cool. But how does that work? Is that something they can just kind of put people in for?
Commissioner gets a pick like legacy guy each league.
Okay. So every year there's two guys.
Yeah.
Okay. News to me. I'm learning something new every day.
Well, I think it's cool that there's a lot of these younger guys that are in there that watched both players and found inspiration and motivation from these players. And not saying it's like, oh, well, I modeled my game after Albert Pujols, but these were the two biggest titans, at least in my generation, you know.
Yeah. Well, imagine being in your first All-Star game and you got fucking Cabrera and Pujols there. Like, just one of those, an opportunity for guys to tell, their kids and their grandkids about. Like, I grew up watching this guy play, and now I'm in the same dugout with him at the All-Star game. So just a cool baseball story.
But what about snubs? Have you been in the locker room with snubs? Because now we're getting to the point where it's like Ty France was in there, Carlos Rodon, Dylan Cease, Kevin Gossman isn't it all there? So there's people who.
Sure. Well, shit, I got snubbed in 15.
You did?
I didn't make it in 15. In 14, I missed the first couple weeks, but I had a really, really nice season. But I was just kind of coming onto the scene. So it made some sense, but there's always guys that miss out that should or deserved an opportunity to be a part of the All-Star game.
Is that a lot of politics though?
Yeah. I mean, I think if there are guys that say you performed just about as well as a guy like Kershaw, and it's your first or second year in the league, you're probably going to get overlooked. And I don't think that's right or wrong. I just think that's how it goes. In any sport, like in the NBA or whatever, if you got one of your game's biggest stars who is performing as well as you, or maybe even not quite as well, that name is probably going to get taken over you.
So while we're recording this, we're approved. We're going to the All-Star game. Allegedly. I mean, your schedule notwithstanding, I know you're moving to that big ass house of yours.
I like All-Star games.
Yeah, so we are. I've just got selected to go to the MLB All-Star game this year. Congratulations, me, first selection.
Nice, your first
second selection. Ian Happ's going too. Is Rizzo? We got it. We should do something. We gotta get Happ and Rizzo. We gotta get we gotta do something there.
Yeah, I mean, I need to. First of all,
congratulations, Ian Happ.
Yeah. I need to call Happ. And you know what? It's one of those things like, I don't call him because he didn't call me. But Happ, where you at, man? I know you're busy. But pick up the phone.
So Happ he's a competitor of ours. Did you know that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's had his show going for a couple years now. I mean, he's doing his thing.
Yeah, Ian, be a friend of the program. Come on, one time.
He's doing his thing, man.
I don't want to offend him. So congratulations to us on our All-Star nominations. LA is a great first destination for me. And I know you like playing it. You like going to LA for baseball games.
Love going there. And we've talked about it a lot. It's just the history there. Watching old clips of games being played in Dodger Stadium, and knowing that like you're in the same confines, like just really, really cool that there, at least we have a few stadiums like that still exist. But at some point, Dodger Stadium might be gone, or maybe they renovate it. But man, just don't get rid of it. Don't do what they did to old Yankee Stadium. Don't let it happen.
Can I get a knife check? Do you have any one that you just opened or?
The last one I opened. So 2, 4. There's only 6 here. I think I might be missing a knife. Maybe not. No, it's 6 total. Okay. You got this guy. So this is like the smaller of the chopper, or the cleaver. I feel like I'm gonna have this one in my hands quite a bit. And then the one that you'll probably see me with most, probably that guy. Probably that guy there.
That's a very trustworthy knife.
It's a nice knife. So I'm gonna as we're going through this, I'm gonna just put them in their case and have them ready for the next time we're preparing a large piece of red meat.
And if there's anybody out there that wants us to review sharp cutlery or kind of whatever the official terminology of this is, obviously just reach out. We are into sharp objects on this.
We love knives. I love having a blade on me at all times. I'm always have a fanny pack. Carl, you're a fanny pack guy. There's things you need on your person that you don't want in your pockets.
Whoa! I think last time we were hanging out, you had a fanny pack. Then you you conceal firearms in your fanny pack. Sometimes it's
I do. Because I conceal carry most times that I leave the house, and I'm typically in a 5-inch inseam short and a tank top. So there's not really many places to conceal it other than the fanny pack. So that's where we keep it.
Hey, speaking of firepower, I got some league leaders I want to read off here. Kyle Schwarber leads the National League with 27 home runs. Congratulations, Kyle Schwarber. Big controversy around Chicago, or like I shouldn't say it like that, but man, people will never get over the fact that Jed and Tom Ricketts didn't have $8 million for him one year. They're just like, no, we don't. And he's just they showed his side by side his last 162 to Aaron Judge, and he's got like a higher slug. His numbers are just as comparable. So
You try and think along with some of these decisions that are made, and it just gets to the point where it's so frustrating, right? Like you trying to figure out why they decided not to sign a guy or this or that, and it's just I feel like we spin our wheels. Who knows? Maybe we'll never know, because did they think he wasn't gonna slug or hit for power? No, I think they did. I think they believe that. I know that he fit in well in that organization and in that city. Everybody loved him. So I don't know. I don't have the answer.
what about Verlander is leading the American League with 11 wins, and right behind him is Logan Gilbert with 10 wins. And if you did a side by side with these guys, you see the scrawny, like fastball heavy Logan Gilbert, and then you see the veteran thoroughbred Verlander. And it's almost like that pitching ninja where I could just see like the gif of him slowly transforming into Verlander. The difference between both of these guys at the top of the league, I just love the fact that Verlander's still going, and then you still have like a guy like Logan Gilbert who's established himself as like the hype is worth every ounce. You watch this guy pitch, he's a fucking sorry, I gotta watch the swear words, but he's just an animal, man. He got so mad the other night for giving up a home run to Ohtani. Like as soon as the ball off the bat, he's just screaming at himself on the mound. I like those guys that get mad over one mistake.
Yeah, because it could cost you the game. That one pitch could cost you the game, and it sucks for sure. And when you have stuff like Logan Gilbert, there are times you go out there. I did a lot where you expect to not give up a hit or a run. So when you're dialed in, and somebody pops you, it sucks. Yeah, you might lose it emotionally for a moment, but yeah, you'll dial it back in. It's one of those things. And he hit. I saw Logan give up a just an absolute moonshot to Ohtani a couple weeks ago, and it's just the look on his face. Like as soon as it was off the bat, I think it was 118 off the bat. He hit it like 475 feet. Um, no one wants to give up a long ball like that. But when you throw a 97 and you miss, a guy like Ohtani is going to hit it to the moon. But and to your point with Verlander, I don't even know what to say about the guy anymore. I just don't. I don't understand. I mean, how long is this guy going to pitch for? I hope he keeps going for another 4 or 5 years. The velocity is still there. His knowledge of pitching is only getting better and better. And I remember back to this might have been a month or two ago. They showed a clip of him in the dugout, kind of rotating the baseball in his hand, changing his grips, just kind of working on his hand position, his release. Like this guy's still learning at 38, 39 years old, and that's it. If you want to pitch for a long, long time, like you have to still be a student of the game, like he is.
Is he cool though? I mean, is he a cool guy?
So did you watch that documentary, the fastball documentary, like with Walter Johnson? They talked about Walter Johnson a lot, and Bob Feller and Nolan Ryan. Verlander was a big part of that documentary. I loved it. I thought he was great in that. I never really hear anything bad about Verlander. I don't know him personally. I mean, I've asked him to sign a couple baseballs in the past. He's always Always been willing to do that. I know that he takes care of young guys. I hear he's a great teammate. So that's what I have to go by.
I'm interested here. What I see Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola. They finished the first half of the season. As we come into the end of the first half of the season, I should say, they're neck and neck with each other. I think fifth and sixth or sixth and seventh, and wins above replacement. They do it so differently though. Aaron Nola's getting a ton of strikeouts this year relative to what he normally does, and it's just interesting to see because these guys have just been like Wheeler's just he's taken that next step in his career, and they just keep moving it forward. And I just feel like they're not gonna be able to get the recognition as long as they're playing
Until
third
they
fiddle
win.
in that division, right?
Until they really win. I mean, look, but if you talk to any position player around baseball, you're going to hear extremely high praise from every single guy you ask about those two guys. Um, the uncomfortability, is that a word? Uncomfortable. Yeah. So I think I nailed it. How uncomfortable guys are in their at bats against Wheeler and Nola might not necessarily be an uncomfortable at bat, but he peppers the bottom of the strike zone with his fastball. He's got the incredible ability to throw that hip shot to lefties. His curveball, it's almost like it goes right before it starts its break, and then you just run out of bat. Wheeler's obviously got super high octane velocity. He's got a great changeup. He's got a really good cutter. He's got a great curveball, and he's figured some shit out, man. He's really figured some shit out, and not only is he pitching really well, he's been doing it consistently now for how long? You know what I'm saying?
Who would you pick for Game 7? Don't tell me you'd piggyback them. Pick one.
God, I mean, I love them both. It's so hard because I've just seen it firsthand what both of them can do, and when they're both at their best, uh, I don't even like.
I think it's honestly like an impossible question.
It's really hard because Nola is one of the hardest working guys I've ever seen. Like you'll come into the clubhouse, and I'll answer your question in a second, but you'll get there early, what you think is early, and then you'll change. You go into the weight room, and Nola's in there, rolling around on a lacrosse ball, like getting his shoulders and his hips loose, like 3 or 4 hours before he even has to do anything. And he's watching video, and um, he's doing contrast. When he does contrast, it's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. So he puts on, and he learned this from Jeremy Hellickson. So he would wear those rubber gloves, like the silicone gloves, and then he would tape around his wrists. And I'm like, dude, Knowles, what the hell are you doing? Like, why do you have gloves on? You look like a serial killer. What are you doing? Walk around in your sliders and rubber gloves taped at your wrist. He goes, well, I do this because I'm in the water so much, so my fingers don't get pruny. So if I have to throw, like, I don't get blisters. I'm like, oh, all right, makes perfect sense. But you just look fucking insane. So to answer your question, oh God, I'm gonna take Nola. But
I'm taking Nola too.
But I mean, there's not a wrong answer.
No, they're both fine pitchers. That's why I bring it up because they're literally neck and neck. If you look at their effectiveness and the way people measure this stuff, I mean, they're literally at the end. They're like identically valuable, but the way they go about it, their ground ball rates, the strikeout rates, the pitch counts, they're different type of guys. What I like about Aaron Nola in a Game 7 is like there's already enough pressure in that moment. There's something to be said about pounding the strike zone in a very pressure packed game. And I think you've seen it before with Hendricks in the Game 6 at the NLCS. Obviously, the Game 7 where, like, if you're pitching to contact in a Game 7 or in that super pressure environment, there's just something where I think the hitters already have enough pressure on themselves too.
Well, there's a difference between pitching to contact and then throwing well-executed quality strikes, which is still essentially pitching to contact. So you kind of have to take it one step further, right? Like, you can pitch to contact by just throwing the ball down the middle, but you can also do the same thing by being effective in the strike zone early and then getting guys to chase pitches and force weak contact late in the count with stuff that starts a strike but ends up outside of the zone. And both of those guys can do it extremely well. I mean, Wheeler, he'll blow cheese at 98 first pitch, and then it's like, oh shit, now what am I looking for? And then you might sit heater, and he throws one at your knuckles that maybe you foul off. And then you're in a world of trouble because now you gotta protect both sides of the plate, and you have to cover 3 or 4 pitches. And Nola can do the same thing. I mean, he's a master at commanding the ball in the strike zone, making the ball move around, and making the plate appear that it's, instead of 17 inches wide, 24 inches wide, because of how he's able to start the ball off the plate and get it to finish on the plate. And like I said, especially my favorite pitch to watch in all of baseball is that hip shot to a left-handed hitter, where the guy lefty will kind of raise his hands, move his lower half out of the way, and you're like, dude, that ball was right, like almost middle, but ball out of hand, it looks like it's chasing you. So incredible amount of respect for both those guys, but if I had to choose, I gotta go Nola.
There's a couple more guys I want to give a shout out to. Before we do, I want to say thanks to Felix Gray for sponsoring today's episode. They're such good friends of the program, and we talk about vision at the plate. If you're facing Aaron Nola, you better want to have prescription or non-prescription glasses, especially ones that are designed to filter blue light and reduce glare. Now, maybe that wasn't the best ad read transition, but the point is this. Felix Gray rocks, and these lenses filter 15 times more blue light. They can make screen time tough on eyes and disruptive to sleep. I love using Felix Gray. You guys see me in the Felix Gray glasses all the time. That's because too much blue light absolutely does irritate my eyes. I did have a nice vacation this week. I did get a little escape from it, but we're back on the grind. So many of us in front of the screens all day. Colin's always in front of Colin does 20 hours a day in front of screens. And he loves Felix Gray. And you don't have to sacrifice style for function when it comes to Felix Gray's blue light filter glasses. Simply consult with their fit guide or virtual try-on to find the pair you love and fit you best, whether you have a round, oval, square, or just a messed up shaped face like me. They have something for everybody. Non-prescription, prescription available. Check them out now. That's FelixGrayGlasses.com/starting. That's FelixGray glasses.com. STARTING. Free shipping, free returns, free exchanges. FelixGrayGlasses.com/starting. Curse words are down this episode, guys. Jake, thanks for pointing that out right away.
You started
feedback.
heavy. You started heavy, but you reined it in. You're coachable.
I get excited. I get so amped up and ready to go. That's just the nature of the beast. And a guy like me, I would have benefited from having Dansby Swanson as a teammate. We're going to get to that interview in a second. He sounds like the absolute perfect guy to be playing behind you.
Just makes you want to be
before we get to Dansby.
Makes you want to be a better guy.
Yeah, and he's a mound visit guy. Would love to be a fly on the wall for a mound visit there. Some other guys I want to give some credit to for some good first halves that you probably don't hear about very often, but I want you to be aware of. This guy, John Birdie, he's got 25 stolen bases for Miami. He's a Bowling Green guy. I think he was an 18th rounder. Absolute brutal start to his minor league career, hitting 200 or whatever. And he's one of these guys. COVID happened. It was a little bit before COVID happened. The light switch went on. He's just a grinder. He's getting a chance with Miami right now. And every organization would kill to have a John Birdie in the dugout. So when you talk about the Marlins, you talk about the starting rotation. This is an opportunity to just give John Birdie some shine. This is my unknown first half player of the year.
Well, he's a guy that, for a while, you play against, and you'd see him in spurts, do some really impressive things in the baseball field, and then kind of have periods where he struggled a little bit, but absolutely is a guy who can break out and become a star for that team. There's no question about it. And he's got all the tools.
Low strikeout rate. We just like guys like John Birdie. The sport of baseball, he just gives a platform for, like I said, who cares about a late teen rounder from Bowling Green, Kentucky that 100 out of 101 times doesn't make it to AAA. But baseball is one of these sports. You could love them. But then on the opposite, I also want to give a shout out. Juan Soto has walked 20 more times than the next, the number 2 in baseball. And we're not talking about high school numbers here. We're not talking about like, the three hitter on LSU going to a Tuesday night game against McNeese State, and they got no choice but to walk him. We're talking about the big leagues. Like Juan Soto has 20 more walks than the next guy at the big league level.
Yeah.
That to me is like the most impressive first half stat.
Well, Soto has developed this reputation, and guys become slightly hesitant when they face him. Like that's just a fact. I'm not saying that guys are scared of Soto. I mean, some might be, and if you're hesitant and you're quote unquote afraid of a guy that steps in the box, how often are you going to see that at bat, start out 2-0? And then, you decide to come in the zone with something that's hittable. Then he takes you deep, or you end up saying, "Oh fuck it, like I'm 2-0, I'm just going to end up put him on." He's just that kind of guy.
So I want to say, I don't know if you're paying attention to this, but the Orioles and the Mariners, I cannot lose a freaking baseball game right now. Astros 8-2 over the last 10. There's some very good baseball being played in the American League. We've talked a lot about the Orioles, their strength of schedule up front, and they just played everybody who's awesome. And now they're just getting in the mode. They're playing 500. They're just waxing people right now. Credit to them, building young. They actually have less payroll than Max Scherzer right now. So I don't even know how to make sense that there's a 26-man roster that's getting paid less than Max Scherzer, who comes back tonight, by the way. So
a lot of Oh yeah, very very exciting. Very exciting to get him back. But as far as the Orioles go, man, you just got a lot of young guys, a lot of young hungry guys that are trying to make a name for themselves. And sometimes that mindset and that hunger to succeed and to become a major league player, a consistent major league player, sometimes that it doesn't match the salary. You see guys making the minimum, going out there playing hard, flying around the field, making plays. You're going to see it every year, but collectively from a team that's like you said, the payroll is basically nothing. Um, it's good for the game. It's good for the game. Wish them well. It's going to be obviously a struggle in that division, but they're playing okay.
yeah, they are. They got more wins than the Angels, and that's a Brandon Hyde product. Brandon Hyde's still doing his thing. We like Brandon Hyde a lot on this podcast.
Let's get him on.
We should get him on.
Yeah, he'll come hang out with us.
I also want to do we're going to get to Dansby Swanson. This reminds me, though, we should do a knife cutting demonstration at the All-Star game. So I don't know if you can carry these on or if we have to travel, but something to think about.
Just fly
all right.
Fly us private, man.
I'll get on that. All right. So the shortstop from the Braves joins us. This guy's exciting because as we get into it, all he's ever wanted to do is play shortstop at the big league level. This isn't some accident where I was like, I figured out I was good at shortstop. This is a very intentional baseball player. This is a guy who also has a lot of control over how the Braves play their games. This is the textbook clubhouse leader. And as Jake and I talk about in the interview, he's Johnny Baseball. Like Dansby Swanson is exactly what managers want to manage when they send some guy out to play shortstop.
It makes the manager's job a lot easier, knowing you get to pencil that guy in your lineup every day. Hey, guys, don't forget, like and subscribe to the show. And if you're watching on YouTube, unsubscribe, resubscribe. Let's get it.
All right, we're in the interview portion of today's show. We are joined by Brave shortstop Dansby Swanson. And off the bat, we got to know about the name. Like, just tell me, is this the most baseball name of all time? They say Dansby Swanson, you're meant to be playing shortstop.
So Dansby is actually my mom's maiden name. So that's how that came about. She had two brothers. One of her brothers lives in Germany, didn't have kids. And then her other one had daughters. So it was just kind of like a family name to just keep it going. So that's how that came about. But trust me, I've heard everything under the sun. I've heard that's the most Vanderbilt name ever. I've heard that's the most like Southern name ever. I've heard that I should be like, be the Braves attorney. I've heard it all. So whatever y'all come up with, I'm sure I've heard before.
Yeah, man. Did you always play short? Did you always want to be a shortstop? Did you pitch? Did you play other spots? Because for me, man, like, and I was talking with Carl and Colin about this. You're like the all American prototypical like shortstop. Like, and especially playing for a team like the Braves. Like when I grew up watching guys, I'm like, all right, like you got like a guy like Michael Young, and like you fit that mold. Like, was that always something you envisioned yourself doing once you got to the big leagues?
Man, man, I've been obsessed with playing shortstop since I was probably like 5 years old. I actually had this VHS tape. It's called Superstar Shortstops, and it like went through like the history of shortstops. It was focused on Jeter, Nomar, and A-Rod. So this is back when A-Rod was, Seattle and Texas. And I just remember growing up, like I was watching that thing like twice a day. Like I just couldn't get enough of it. Went through the whole history of like who's Honus Wagner, Louis Aparicio, Larry Boa, like Ray Ordonez, when he was with the Mets. All these guys, Omar Vizquel, and I was just like obsessed with the position. Like it just, I don't know, just made sense to me, and I loved the demands that the position of shortstop brings because it's so much more than like just the defense and offense. It's about kind of captaining and making sure everyone's in the right spot, making sure everyone's on the same page. Like I just grew like obsessed with what shortstop means, and like if you can play a good shortstop, it allows your teams to win, and that's like how I grew up with it basically. And so I played 1 year of second base in college, my sophomore year. We had a pretty good shortstop, so I played second, and then transitioned back over to shortstop my junior year. But that's pretty much the only time I've ever played anything other than shortstop. I did pitch in high school. I mean, it was about 84 and flat. It was good hitting. Like it, I was the kid that like I'm not gonna walk you. So either you're gonna hit this, and you're either gonna be out or you're not. I was not say that I was a great pitcher by any means. Now that I think about it, I probably should have thrown a few warm ups like over the backstop just to create a little bit of fear because it was here it is, hit it, and
Well,
we'll see
that
what we
mid
get.
'80s, and I'm sure you're a little heavier than that from shortstop, but that flat, ball from short, that's what you need from your shortstop. I mean, no one at
Exactly,
first,
a
yeah, nobody at
catchable
first
ball.
wants that heavy sink coming their way. Uh,
Yeah,
you know what I
that's the
mean?
truth.
And hey, you're slowly like you're creeping your way. I mean, you're a veteran guy now. This is your seventh season, right? Seven,
Yeah,
six.
six full, like six
Yeah,
full ones
we'll
left.
call it
Yeah.
seven. So now for you, when you like your rookie year at short, were you obviously you've become more comfortable like being that field captain. Did it take a while for you to get acclimated amongst like the leaders on that team, or did guys like buy into you as the shortstop right away? Because just from playing against you and knowing what kind of guy you are and hearing what kind of guy you are, I'm like this is going to be the Brave shortstop for a long time. And was that easy for guys to kind of buy into? Like, yeah, this is our guy. Like we know he's our guy.
Uh, I'd like to think so because I feel like in spring training and stuff, like I just went about my business the way it should be gone about. And I just felt like for me, I've always put the most emphasis on winning. I think that that's why we play. That's the reason why we do what we do. And I feel like that message and vision was always very easy to get behind. And so it's like every action that we have on field, at the field, like should all be predicated around one thing, and that's to win. So I'd like to think that kind of like infiltrated everybody's mind. Um, so that's how I've always looked at it. The first probably year or so, like the speed of the game was really fast defensively. People talk about like offensively, which is definitely a transition. Like I don't think people realize how hard people hit balls, how much faster guys can actually run. Like this is grown men. This is not minor league baseball. Like this is very much more intense and stressful. So that kind of took me a little bit of time to get used to. But once I started to really feel my way around the game and like understand swings and pitching and where balls are going to go before they go there, really started to make a difference for me. So like each year, it's just kind of like progressed into, like you said, like that kind of like quiet confidence of putting this guy here, telling this guy to, he needs to play a little more shallow, or, you know, moving your third baseman and saying like, hey, I think he's going to hit ball towards the 6 hole. Like, I need you to cover the 6 hole. Or, I mean, in this day and age, when you shift everybody, like there are times for me, I'm like, if we're in a shift and we get a double play ball and can't turn a double play because we're in the
Yeah, does
shift,
that bother
like
you?
I'm going to be pissed.
Yeah.
I'm going to be pissed. The pitcher's going to be pissed. And I already know the pitching coach and everybody else is going to be pissed. So you just kind of play the game with your eyes and let it tell you like what it is I'm wanting to
Do the
have happen
Braves
here.
allow you the freedom to kind of take a look at the advanced analytics and how they want us to position ourselves? And will they allow you to make adjustments being the shortstop and understanding your baseball IQ? Do they take that into account? Because I know a lot of times you can get burned by the shift. But if you really watch, and you can tell me or tell us better than anybody, because you're playing shortstop in the big leagues. You've done it for a long time, and you've seen how the analytics have kind of progressed over the years. But it seems like now, man, guys are like in the right spot more times than not. Like you might get burned here and there, but and you tell me, it seems like you're getting more outs than giving up, hits within the shift.
Yeah, well, to me, a lot of that is dependent on pitching too, because um, I think that you start to see a lot when it comes to like, I mean, you were more of a two-seam guy. Like two-seam guys, it seems to me that the ball typically stays more in the middle of the field because of just the angle in which the ball's coming in and swing path to actually hit a ball like that. And anything that gets pulled typically is chopped, which a third baseman can handle without a shift. Um, yes, the Braves do give me a lot of leeway in terms of like what it is that I see to make adjustments, because sometimes like, yeah, that's what the numbers may say, but at the same time, you also got to kind of like put into account like intent by a hitter, right? Because I would rather, there's certain guys, like I'm okay with certain guys beating me in a shift because I'd rather take pull side ground balls away. But there are other guys too. I'm like, listen, I would rather him beat me with a hard hit ball, through what we would deem as regular as opposed to a shift. So it really just goes a lot to where the game.
Do you have examples? Do you have examples of hitters? I'm sorry, but like, are there certain guys that jump to your mind when you're like, man, we don't shift on this dude?
So what's funny is I feel like I've learned over the years playing against Harper, which Jake, you would know this, like playing against Harper, when we shift him, he kills us.
Yeah.
Kills us. And I've noticed the reason why is because to me it makes him better because he then stays on balls better. Like he has the ability to do that. He's an unbelievable player. So he has the ability to like, hey, they're going to give me that direction. It almost like helps him because he can juice a ball to any part of the park. So I'm like, I would rather play him straight because maybe even just vision wise, it may take him, like where he's like, oh, I don't have the freedom to just necessarily go that direction. That would be like kind of one example. It's like the numbers may say to pull him, but at the end of the day, I know what his intent is going to be, and that intent's got a lot more damage than us just
And Harper's a
playing
really good
normal.
example too, because he'll adjust his approach multiple times within the at bat. And
Right,
from
right.
a player standpoint, I love to see that, because when a guy like that steps in the box, I know that I can't just pepper him at his hands with fastballs. He's gonna foul him off and then swing and miss. He's gonna spread out and he's gonna try and hit the ball. He's still trying to hit the ball hard, but he's
Hmm.
trying to go to left center. He might even, he's
Hmm.
just trying to find his way on base. And I
Yeah.
wish there was a little bit more of that around the game, because on some teams that I've been with, I see, the player development guys and the coaching staff just telling these guys, stay with your swing. Like try and do the same thing. Don't worry about the shift. Just hit for power, hit for slug. And I think that we're doing guys a disservice because we're not maximizing their ability and we're not teaching them how to be more well-rounded as a hitter. Like, because if when you get to two strikes, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm teaching my son, who's 10, who's a big fan of yours, is that pick a spot. Pick a spot in the strike zone that you'd like to hit. Doesn't matter if it's hard or soft. If you get something in that window, go for it. And then with two strikes, then all you're trying to do is protect. Try and find a way on base.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're pretty spot on because I think at the end of the day, right? Like, if you want to stick around this game, you have to drive the ball and you have to produce runs. Whether you're an elite run producer or you drive in runs, you have to like the name of the game is what? To score more runs than the other team. So that means that you need to basically either you be scoring the runs, you driving people in, or you preventing people from scoring runs. Like those are to me like the three things that make teams win. And so, like you said, if you want to have a career, yes, you need to drive people in. That's just how the game works. But you need to understand within count situation, like what is needed for us to win. What is that? Me driving the ball in the gap? Is it me, swallowing my pride and taking my single? One thing that we've talked about before is like you need to understand whether you're in an advantage situation, whether it's the guy that you're facing, if you're at a disadvantage or you're neutral, and then you can kind of dictate your game plan around that. Because I mean, there are guys that you may not see well, so you're kind of at a disadvantage. It's like, okay, I'm going to take more or less what they give me today, as opposed to me looking to do a little bit of extra damage. In a situation like I got to put myself in the right situation to be successful. But once again, old school would there's a right and a wrong way to teach it, and I just feel like it gets so like misconstrued when it comes to the hitting side of things.
Now, who's the guy or a couple guys that might not be like the super high octane, arms, but guys that you kind of struggle with a little bit, whether it's just their ability to, change speeds, move the ball around, really locate well, or just
Hmm.
for whatever reason you just don't quite pick up. Do you have a couple guys within the division or even around baseball that you're just like, damn, I don't know what it is. Like he's not throwing 100, but I just, I pop it up or I swing through it.
Yeah, there's Pablo Lopez with the Marlins is pretty pretty special. I mean, they obviously their whole staff, man, is pretty ridiculous. Um, I would definitely say that he's one. Just the ability to move the ball like around all parts of the strike zone and make it stay straight, make it sink. He's got a great changeup. Uh, he's definitely a tough at bat. He's kind of one that pops off the screen like for starters. You know what I mean? Like I felt like he's almost. I'm glad he's finally getting like the credit he deserves because he's having a great year this year. I think he's kind of like the first guy that really pops to mind in terms of just like, man, this guy is pretty ridiculous.
Now, when you're facing a guy like that, it doesn't necessarily have to be Pablo. It's going to be a tough at bat just based on your history with him. Will you, like early in the count, will there be times where, and I know the situation will dictate that, but are you trying to do damage or are you just saying no? Like, all right, I don't see this guy particularly well. I'm just trying to stay on something, hit like a nice, maybe a nice line drive to right center. Maybe I can do damage if he leaves the ball up, or like does it not matter who's on the mound? Like I'm gonna try and get my swing off no matter what, and then when I get to two strikes, I'll figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think you have to tailor it a little bit because, like you said, if you don't see a guy well, like why am I trying to do damage? That just doesn't make sense. I think it's important to like know, okay, what is going to serve me well, like in this moment? Is that, like you said, is it a line drive back up the middle? Is it a line drive the other way? Even sometimes, I mean, this is so like taboo, but do I need to just try and get something that I can pull because that's just going to give me the best chance to get a base hit? So there's definitely different ways to tailor it based on who you're facing, whether you see them well, whether you don't. And then, sometimes too, it's like every time I face, this certain guy, I only can hit a ground ball. Like, why not maybe just trick myself and try and hit the ball straight up in the air and maybe I find the
Yeah,
middle, you know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
Like, we'll say that all the time. It's like, wow, you just like can't get under this guy. Like, okay, why don't I just try and pop this straight up to the catcher?
And those are
And
those are
maybe,
sinker guys. I'm assuming you're talking about,
yeah.
right? Guys with
Oh
heavy
yeah. Oh
sink.
yeah. Yeah, it's always ends up being later and moving more than you think.
Well, and you gotta
Um,
you almost have to guess essentially where the ball is going to end up. Correct?
mhm.
Because
Yeah.
four
Well, I
seam like
think
it's kind of like on the same plane, but with the sink, a guy like Zach Britton, like how do you? I don't even know if you can elevate that sinker unless he just
no,
happens to
well,
miss at the belt.
Yeah, I've always said that. It's funny, like especially a guy like him, right? You're like, they're like, all right, get him up. It's like, well, he doesn't
He
throw it
doesn't
up,
throw
dude.
it up.
Like, how? So what am I supposed to do?
Take,
Do take,
I guess.
swing, straight up in the air and try and swing three balls under to make sure I, get it square. I mean, there's like different mind tricks that I feel like can be utilized, like with certain guys like that. Just, big.
Are you seeing more sinkers now?
I think it's getting back to that because I think what people have figured out is you need to be able to pitch. Like, if you want to get people out at the big league level, you can't be a one trick pony. Like, you actually have to be able to pitch. And so, in order to be able to pitch, what is it that you do well? Well, everyone got obsessed with high fastballs and breaking balls off of that. Well, if you're an elite guy that can sink the ball and then have something that's going away, or even you're seeing more like sinker changeup guys too. I mean, like Sandy Alcantara with the Marlins, like it's sinker changeup and ain't nobody hitting it, And so it's like, what do you do best, and just go do that. And more times than not, it's going to work out in your favor. I just think that that's where the analytics part to me has always frustrated me a little bit because it's like, why not just take what I do really well and implement that into today's plan, or implement that for me to be able to get people out or for me to be able to be successful at the plate instead of saying, well, only four seamers can work nowadays. It's like, that's just not true.
Not
It's
true
just
at
not
all.
true.
And how many
You
guys
know,
could you name that could effectively, as a starting pitcher, could pitch at the top of the strike zone and have that curveball kind of bottom of the zone to under for 6, 7, 8 innings? I mean, it's like Verlander, Garrett Cole, maybe a couple more guys, Scherzer. But what can they also do extremely well that comes before that is down and away. They can pitch in. They've got two other pitches.
well, that's what I mean. You talk to the guys that are like the starting guys that are successful, like really, really successful. They know the one way that they can most definitely get you out, right? And they may save that for the time that they definitely need to get you out. Because analytics is to me has been so obsessed with like strikeouts. And it's like, well, if you're trying to punch everybody out, you're already showing your best, you know, pitch right off the bat instead of saying, all right, first time through, I'm going to be able to get this guy out with only two of my pitches. The next time I face him, I can use the two other pitches. So essentially, he's seen two different pitchers two times through. And then the third time through the lineup, which is like the analytic nightmare, I'm saving my best bullets to be able to get this guy out. Obviously that's like in a perfect world,
Yeah,
but I'm like, the reason why guys can't get through the lineup three times is because no one's taught them how to get through the lineup three times.
that's a fact. And I'm facing you, say if we're in the same division, I'm facing you 20 times a year or whatever it is, maybe more, maybe a few less. And you know what I'm going to do. I'm throwing 97% fastballs on first pitch of the at bat, and it's typically away. And then in 0-1 counts, I throw this 60% of the time. So there's no secret to what's going on. And you're exactly right. Like, I need to figure out how to get you out. Maybe I don't throw my changeup to you very often, but in August, when you've already stood in the box against me 12 to 15 times, I might need to show you that changeup, or I might
Mm-hmm.
need to, show you a sinker in at your hands, and whatever the case is. So the numbers are so in your face. You know exactly what the guy is going to try and approach you with. So when you see something out of the blue, you're like, oh damn! And then he ended up getting you out 2 or 3 times that game, completely different than he would in the past. So it's that chess match, man. Like you might smash this pitch, but I might have to show it to you every once in a while.
Right, exactly. And I think that it's funny. I've even heard some guys say like they'll do certain things, and I tell them like, if the situation commands it, where let's say we're up a lot or down a lot, where you feel comfortable to do something that kind of throws the scouting report off, that throws the percentages off, does something that's a little bit different, just because it can get people away from what the game plan actually can be. I mean, you think about, I hate that I'm going to use this example, but New England, when Tom Brady was there, like I know for a fact that when they were, up big in games, they were running certain plays, not only to not show their best stuff, but they're trying to dictate, the scouting report against them because they're gonna basically like make the numbers look like something that they aren't, which I think is just like that's playing chess. You know what I mean? Like that's not checkers, that's chess.
Yeah, it's a very smart move, and yeah, I've gotten burned a lot, and I'm sure you've hit some big homers or some hitting for slug because you just knew 2-1 count. Okay, this guy's gonna spin. He's gonna try and spin a breaking ball for a strike, and you're all over it. So that's huge. And talking about the sinker, Carl mentioned it. I feel like it's making a big comeback, and it needs to. Guys that have the ability to make the ball move from left to right or right to left like that, if they're left-handed, it's so difficult to hit. In a well-located four seam, it's a great pitch, but man, that shit gets whacked if it's not located.
Yeah, well, my thing too, like I just don't understand if the game of baseball is obviously, like I said, to score more runs than the other team. The other way to look at it too is it's a race to who can get 27 outs the fastest, right? So if you got a guy that can manipulate the ball like a sinker or even just a really good two seam, and you're getting weak contact early, I don't understand what's so wrong with that. Like we're going to get more outs quickly than you are, which is going to give us a better chance to win. So why not allow, my guy that's a two seam slider guy or a two seam curveball guy to go up there, get weak contact two times through the order. We're sitting here in the sixth up, you know, 4-1, and he's at 65 pitches. Like then we have endless possibilities for how to manage the bullpen. We have endless possibilities on maybe this guy goes the distance, saves our bullpen arms for, this next big series that we got coming up. And, it just, especially if you have a good defense. Like if you have a good defense, why not use it? I've always said, there was a big knock on Mike Soroka a couple years ago in his All-Star year. He had like a 2.5, and people go, he's not punching enough people out. And I just looked at him, I said, yeah, and I said, well, everybody that goes up to the plate gets out, so I don't know what y'all care about. Like, is what matters guys getting people out, or is it them striking them out? Because if they go back to the dugout as an out, that's all I
That's
care
all
about.
you care
You
about.
know, I
And
just
as a starter, I took pride in not handing the ball to somebody in the bullpen until at least the seventh inning. Like that's a great feeling. And I was never like, I had some seasons with high strikeouts, but nothing crazy like a Kershaw or like a Verlander or Scherzer, nothing like that. But I think the problem is they're looking at like barrel percentage, whiff rate, all that, all those sexy things. But you're 100% right. Like I want as many outs as possible, as quick as possible, because not only does that make me look good, but it's preserving the guys that have to come in behind me.
man, and I guarantee you, in those years where you had more strikeout numbers, the mentality was more of like hit this instead of I'm going to punch these guys out. Because when you are on the aggressive and on the attack and you're, hit this, people start fouling pitches off more instead of putting them in play. And then all of a sudden you're sitting in 0-2, 1-2 every time. And we already know what the numbers look like when, you get to a hitter to two strikes as fast as possible. There ends up being more swing and miss. It's funny. Baseball's at a funny point,
It
man.
is,
I just,
yeah. But with guys like you with the baseball IQ and the knowledge, you have the ability, and as a veteran, to kind of push back a little bit. I'm not saying like say, hey, no,
yeah,
we're throwing the
we,
shit out the window, but like you're the dude in the center of the field, like, and you're making the plays. You see everything, so it's
and,
good that you
and,
have the
and the,
ability to kind of make some changes.
yeah, the beauty of that too is like each side has earned each other's trust, in terms of like suggestions I've made that have worked out for us or suggestions they've made for me that have worked out, so there's definitely a trust there where it's like, okay, like if you want to do something based on what your eyes tell you, go ahead and do it. We're fine with that. And at the end of the day, I'm also okay with if I make the wrong decision, I wear it. Like I'll own up to it. Okay, sorry, that was the wrong decision. That's cool.
What about this season with you guys have been on a pretty I'm not trying to jinx anything here. You guys on a pretty solid run since June 1st here, Dansby. And you guys had a pretty amazing run at the end of last year. Based on your experience, how does this year compare to what you guys did last year?
To me, the biggest X factor for us this year was when we called Mike Harris up. He I think the one thing that he did was like completely solidify center field defensively, which is just to me ever since he got called up what May like 24th, we've been pretty good. Like our record is pretty top notch just because less balls fall in the outfield. You know, it's harder for people to get on base, and he's obviously put together a ton of competitive at bats. So to me, that kind of like shored up everything. And then also too, I mean, I feel like we obviously had some moving pieces, and Ronnie in and out of the lineup just from being post ACL surgery and all that kind of stuff. Like we hadn't found our rhythm until that point in the year, and I feel like everything's just like coming together because we've all kind of like found more of like a team identity. I always say every year there's a different team. Even if you have the same pieces, it's just a different team. And you have to kind of figure out how all that works together. And like I said, I think we're just kind of getting to that point of like, this is who we are. We go out and play our game every night. And if you beat us, fine. Like, we're just going to hedge our bet that the next night you're not going to, so.
And there's obviously no panic in the Braves clubhouse. Knowing
No.
knowing what kind of organization it is and playing against you guys for years, regardless of how things have started, it always seems like it's just slow and steady. Like you mentioned, we play tonight. Whatever happens, happens. We come out the next day, prepare to win. And now you guys, what is it? You guys are game and a half back. You got a huge series with the Mets.
Mm-hmm.
How have you guys viewed kind of the division thus far, from maybe a couple weeks back to now? I mean, I know you guys are still going to play your game, but has the mentality shifted at all? Are guys looking at it like, shit, hey, we're right there. Now we got to make our move.
Yeah. I mean, I think, like you said, about a month and a half ago, it was kind of like, feel like we were going upstream without a paddle. It's just kind of like, man, like Mets are playing really well, which they've still been playing well. I just think that we've kind of kicked it into another gear. And I think that you, Jake, this, like, because you were in Chicago when they were really good. Um, there's like this feel that every day you show up to the park, that if you just do what you do, like there's a really good chance that you're going to be successful. And that's a very energizing and like contagious, mentality to have is when we show up, like we got a chance to win every night. That's there's something to be said about that. And I think that's just kind of like what we've gotten to is like, let's just go do our thing and whatever happens, what happens, and we'll make the necessary adjustments for tomorrow. Or sometimes baseball happens, like this is a hard game, and sometimes, you hit a ton of balls hard and you lose and the other team dinks them all in, but that's what happens. And the more that you get, to me, the more that you get caught up on focusing on everybody else, then you're actually losing because you're more concerned about the outside world instead of, the 26 guys in the clubhouse. That if you're concerned about that and focused on that, then a lot of good things happen. And I think every good team, we were talking about Alabama football earlier, like, do you think Alabama cares at all about what Clemson's doing or what A&M's doing or, what Auburn's doing or Georgia? Like Alabama, they show up, they run on the field, they just jog out there, nothing's hype about it because they just know that what they're going to do is beat your ass, really, and they just go out there and say, well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to play our game, have fun stopping it, and we just don't believe you're going to. Like every great team has that mentality.
I think the only time we would really ever look at the standings, when you get your um, pre-series like packet of information, you see like how teams have done in the last 10, you might glance at it, but really other than that, it's kind of through the media. You hear about other teams in your division, but you're right, like we really didn't give a shit about what everybody else is doing. So if we prepare to win a game, that's all that matters, and then we'll see where we stack up at the end of the year. So, but it's always interesting to kind of hear, you know, the feel of the clubhouse, with young guys, because young guys might look at that a little bit more than a guy like yourself. I never watched any MLB Network at all during the season. It was on in the clubhouse, so we'd see some of the clips. But there would be times where I'd get questions about certain things, and I wouldn't have any idea what they were talking about because all I was focused on is my bullpen or conditioning or getting ready for my next start, and that's where I left it.
I think that's what you have to do. I mean, I would imagine that all the other really good teams do the same thing, because that's just like I said, that's the mentality that has to be had. And to me, the if you're putting energy on things outside the clubhouse, other teams or whatever, then that's just less energy you're spending on becoming better. And I think that the only way for growth to happen is to put everything, on self, as in self team. I just every good team I've been on has been that way because at the end of the day, you can only control one thing, and that's your, preparation and effort. You can't control it, how the Mets do or how the Phillies do or, you know, how the Dodgers did that night or who's playing well because that just ever so slightly is just pulling you out of, what you need to be focusing on.
Do you want to manage?
Me, man, I got to get through my playing career first. I'll probably be, I'll,
I mean, just listening. I know, just listening to you talk, though, man. I mean, it's really interesting because you do get the brand as the field captain, and you talked about those three things. You're either scoring runs, you're driving runs in, or you're preventing runs. And you kind of strike me as a guy who wants to be good at all three, wants to do whatever those three things are at once. And it's just kind of interesting to me as you talk more and the more I get to hear you explain the way you think about the game. I think these are the type of attitudes and influences that baseball needs in the clubhouse and around player development, particularly with statistical advantages and all the insight and analytics that go in. The more you talk about the stuff, you calling shifts, you having that relationship. If you're ever on the fence about it, man, you got my
Dude, I
endorsement.
think this guy, he might want a summer after he's done playing. He's gonna play for 20 years. He might want to enjoy himself for a minute. I don't know.
I think,
I don't know. It sounds like he's
man,
going. You sound like a guy who can't take a day
the
off,
the
man.
running joke is that everyone thinks I'm going to be the next coach at Vanderbilt. So that's more the running joke than anything. But I don't know. I just I do love teaching. I do love like teaching kids how to play, like whether it's younger kids or high school kids or even guys on our team. And like I love having like my favorite thing about team is conversations that you have like post game about the game or about what you saw or hey man, like you're outing tonight, like thought you threw the ball well, but I do think that if you can get this part down, like it's going to make you even better. Or picking teammates up, like that's the stuff that I love. Like I've kind of become obsessed with like the journey of what it takes to win. Like that's like what I love, is like figuring things out. Like it's so much fun to me. Like I've really become like addicted to it basically of
Is
like
there a specific guy though, like that you are like, like me and Austin Riley are talking every single night after the game? Is there a specific guy that you
me
cling
and
to?
Riley talk a ton. Position player wise, me and him talk a ton. Me and Ozzy have obviously a great relationship. Like I tell people like at the field, like me and Ozzy are best friends. We really are. We don't really hang out outside the field, which is fine. I did invite him to my wedding though, so hopefully he shows up. But at the field, we're like this. Same with Freed. Like we got some guys that like are baseball people. They love baseball. The bullpen guys are. I mean, Jake, you know this. Like bullpen guys are their own breed. They're their own. They're crazy, and I love every bit of it. But they see the game from a unique perspective too, and like we love bouncing things off of each other. Of like, hey man, like I think that if you could just execute a few more like you know fastballs in. I know analytics say up and away and breaking balls down and in, but I think if you really speed somebody up and just a little bit, like that breaking ball plays a little bit better.
I love that kind of
And it's just
stuff,
like little
man.
things like that.
That's probably the thing I miss most about the game. There's a lot of things, but post game, having like myself, a couple starters, a bullpen guy or two, and some position players just sitting in there in the clubhouse after the game, maybe having a beer, and we'd sit in there for like an hour, sometimes 2 hours, and we look at our watch like, oh shit, it's 1:30, like we should probably get home, but that's where we learn the most. And maybe keeping a couple of the young rookies in there and just chopping it up like those are invaluable experiences. And I can only imagine that you guys have had some of the best ones around the league just with the guys that you have. And I know how much y'all love the game.
Yeah, I think one of our big mottos is good teams hang out together. Like good teams spend time together. Like there's no way to get around that.
How many? So how many show dinners you get? You guys go to a show dinner just about every road trip, or how's that working out?
Typically, the pitchers they love it. They
Pitchers
love it.
do.
I'm not. Oh man, they love it, and I'm like, man, I'd love it too if I played every fifth day. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Fuck you.
I know what happens at these show dinners. It gets a little rowdy here and there. Like, I need to go. I'm in a little bit of a different situation. My fiance is a professional soccer player. Her schedule's nuts. So like every bit of time that we get to be able to talk to one another, like I'm trying to take advantage of it because, she deserves that and the whole thing. It's a little bit of a different life that we have to live. But I'll go here and there. I think we got one coming up that I'll probably try and make. But the pitchers, they're especially the bullpen guys, they live for it, man. Like they
So
live
who
for it.
controls? Who will run the wine list like at dinners like that? Who's got that in their hands?
This might surprise you, but Ian Anderson.
Okay.
What?
Yeah. Old soul, man. Like I'm telling you, like the guy, like I love it. He's 25, and he's definitely like the guy that's running the wine list.
Okay. Well, it's
Him,
I
Colin.
knew
I
it'd
looked at
be
a lot
pitcher,
for
though.
his
I
career.
definitely knew it'd be one of the arms.
Fuck yeah.
Colin McHugh.
Okay.
He definitely can run the list as well. Man, we got a lot of interesting guys. I love
Now,
it.
who'll be the first one to, like, I don't even want the check to come. They've already given their card. We have a guy like that on the team?
Yeah, there's a couple.
Good.
Will Smith is a big one. Smitty.
Yeah.
Olson. Matt, he's awesome. He's one that'll definitely do that too. And then Charlie Morton.
Yeah, a couple salty
he'll
vets.
definitely do that.
Yep.
Well, what I love is like we got a multitude, like we got a ton of guys in the clubhouse that like care more about the other than themselves, which I think is like fantastic. I've always said leadership is about serving other people, and I feel like we got guys on our team that like fully do that, and at the field and everything.
That's awesome, man.
Hey, I have just like two things here we were going through. You mentioned the fiance, you mentioned the guest list. I think a lot of people are interested in what the biggest controversy you faced so far in planning a wedding. Has it been like live band versus DJ, a big guest list, small guest list, travel wedding, not like what's really tying up the Swanson household?
Man, there ain't nothing. Like we are fully same vision. Like our thing is so funny. All right, we have a fantastic wedding planner, thank goodness, because this would not
Can't
be
do it on your
possible
own
without their help. Yeah, no. They're like asking me about like my dream wedding, and I'm like, all I care about is that like the people I love the most are there, and that we just like have a fantastic time. And so, I mean, like we're all about the party. Like we want to get married, take our pictures, do the whole thing, and then it's like, all right, now Knife Talk by Drake is playing.
Yeah,
like
now
we're
we're getting
like
after
let's
it.
just go. Like let's get it going. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So there hasn't
Yep.
been any holdup with any of the stuff because Mal and I are like two peas in a pod. Like we very much think the same things, which has definitely made it easy.
And then the other thing, I've been dying to know this, dude. Like, how do you pick out a baseball glove? How did you pick? Like, is it A2000 over Rollins over? How does that happen for you? And then, like, how do you decide to trade it out, or what's a lifespan of a glove for you look like?
Infielders, man, I'm weird about my gloves, which is probably not a surprise.
Yeah.
So I started using Wilson in college, and they always treated me well, and I liked their gloves, so thought no need to change. Like we said earlier, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I've been using the same glove, like the exact same glove, for a little over 3 years now. Thankfully, I got Ron Washington on my side, so I'll drop my glove off in his locker, and he does the whole like leather oil.
Is he
like,
that
lather it
legendary?
up. Yeah, he's the greatest. Like he is absolutely the greatest. So he'll like lather it up and help the leather be taken care of. Just because if a glove doesn't break in how I like it, every leather is different. Just because different cows, the whole thing, different cuts, like. You just never know what's going to happen. So when you get a good one, you just hold on to it. Literally.
Now, are you like Lindor? Will you use it when it's like still still firm, or do you will you use it in spring training or in the off season to get it to the point where you like it, and then you'll introduce it into a game?
I've been breaking one in as my backup for 2 years now.
Have to do that.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like I basically, so I'm not a two in
No.
the pinky roll guy. Like I'm a straight up OG. Like I could be playing with, back in the old days where they just had like an extension of their hand, because that's how I want my glove to be. Like I really want it to like just fit my hand and be a little bit longer, and just that's how I want to catch
Absolutely.
the ball.
Absolutely. Man, so you give your glove to wash when you travel. I'm hoping you don't just do you throw it in the equipment bag and get it do you let it
No,
get
I have a
smashed? And you
I have a
got a
little
case.
case.
Okay, good, man. You
Yeah,
got to now. Do you
yeah.
use? Is it like that black box, the cube kind of sort of deal that some of the guys are using?
Similar. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know what's funny is, like a hat carrying case that they
Yep.
give out.
Yep.
Like it actually is perfect, like size fit for my infield glove. So I just throw it in there because it's got the whole like protective layering and everything, and just toss it in there and put
The
it in
guys
the
that'll throw them
equipment
in
bag.
their equipment bags without a case, they're psychopaths. I'm like, how are you going to
Yeah,
do that to your weapon, man? Come on.
yeah, I know, I know. I'm with you. I'm with you. I always think that's odd. I'm okay with that if it's a brand new glove because it needs to get beat up so it can get
True.
broken in.
True.
Because but my gamer, like that thing, it's taken
Good.
care of.
Good. I figured it would be. Well, I got one thing for you, and I get a lot of shit from these little league dads, and they want their kid to go to the big leagues tomorrow. What is one or two things as a young kid that I could have them work on to help them keep their weight back? Because they're seeing off speed now. They're seeing change ups. Some guys with some decent curveballs. They're all geared up for the velocity, but they have such a hard time preventing the slide forward. How do I keep them on that backside and hands back? Like what? Just some because there's things I just don't
Man,
know how to
hey,
break it.
if you learn,
Yeah, all right.
if you figure it out, I might just ask for you to give me some tips,
Because
honestly.
I could hit okay, but as soon as guys would start throwing me spin early in the count, I'm like, it's over. Like I'm looking straight heater. I can't hit this cutter. I can't hit this hammer curveball that I'm trying to see off Morton or whatever. No shot.
You know, you know what I think is good for kids is like not even like mechanically or getting them to like how do I keep my weight back. It's more about like how can I get the mental of like them to not be scared to swing and miss.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I think that when this, like when the mind isn't clear, the body doesn't move right. So the more that the kids can be just like be on attack, and if you swing at three straight breaking balls, like I'll be okay with it, and we'll learn from that as opposed to trying to teach them how to hit everything at once. Because if you're trying to hit four different pitches, you're
Well,
not
and
going
it's
to
like
hit the one
how
you're
do
trying
you
to
how do
hit.
you hit the curveball? It's like you don't miss the fastball. It's
Right, right,
100% true. 100% true.
right. Hey, and when it comes to infield, there'd be one thing that whenever I teach kids how to catch the ball, I line them up and I say, listen, this is how simple it's going to go today. Every ground ball that's hit to you, okay, every fungo that's hit, you have to catch on the run and you have to catch with one hand. And the reason I say that is because until a kid gets comfortable catching the ball with one hand and catching on the run, they'll never be able to catch a ground ball. And they go, well, I'm trying to keep it in front. And I said, do you want to keep the ball in front or do you want to catch it? I'd rather catch it. So this is how you're going to do it. And I'm telling you, like, kids start to understand, like, how to go catch a certain hop. When you're catching it with one hand on the run, you have to catch
And
the
how to
ball
be
out in front.
athletic. Move
And
like
how to
an
be athletic,
athlete.
how to be aggressive. My dad taught me everything about fielding. Since like I've been catching ground balls the same way since I was itty bitty. And his biggest thing was play offense on defense. That was what he would always say. And it's like once you start to realize like, oh wow, I can, cut down 20 feet of a throw because I'm going to get the ball instead of waiting back, it makes my life so
And
much
how many
easier.
times do you get a ball where you can set your feet perfect, your gloves right down in front of you, chest over the ball? That might only happen once or twice a game, where it's hit directly at
Yeah,
you.
that's
But you're right. You got to
that's
field on the move. You got to be an athlete.
it's a one-handed game. Like it just is. It's a one-handed game, and we're always obsessed with like the two hands thing. I'm just like, it's a one-handed game. Play, on the run, learn how to catch the ball out in front, and good things are going to happen.
No, so that's
What a
phenomenal.
great endorsement, seriously, from like the king of fundamentals and stuff. That's great.
Say they are fielding a ball in front of them. I stress, get the glove on. I want your leather to touch the infield dirt or the grass, because in my mind, and I'm sure in yours, it's way easier to move up on the ball than to try and stab at it downward. And there's no worse feeling than having a ball go between your legs.
Mm-hmm. Or the way I would say it too is like play with your eyes underneath the ball, basically. Like, because I feel like that like when your eyes are underneath the ball, like you can actually work through a ball. Like you can't work through a ball from up here, but you can work through a ball from like with your eyes
Sure.
underneath. Another good thing, a teaching tool for kids is when you hit them fungos, make them count the hops.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Because it's just a
Count the
different way of
hops.
like,
Is this a Ron Washington thing?
that is not, no. The Ron Washington is all about like how to move
Count
through
the
the ball,
hops.
basically. Like that's count the hops, dude. That's a good one because
I'm writing it down right now.
Write that shit
And
down,
so
Jake.
counting the hops, that almost like
Can we sell a Count the Hops shirt? We should
count
sell like
the
a Count the
hops.
Hops shirt.
Dude, I love that so much. I appreciate you telling me that. Now counting the hops too, make like you're in the moment. You have to be laser focused, especially if the ball's hit at you pretty well. Like that'll
Right.
keep you totally locked in to fielding that ground ball. So that's genius, man.
It's a rhythm builder because then you start to understand like if it's the hop is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 versus the hop is 1, 2, like you start to understand what hop to go get, and like I said, like it's a way, especially for kids, it's a way to like actually get a kid to focus. Like you have to actually focus to catch
Now,
this
talk
ball.
to me a little bit about working through the ball. The philosophy of that is that to, in my mind, it helps you eliminate like a shitty hop, right? If you're moving through it, is that kind of and what else? What's another reason for that?
To me, moving through a hop also allows you to like catch the ball with the momentum of going to where you're trying to throw the ball, right? So like if you're going through the ball, then that means like I'm catching it going through towards the direction in which I'm throwing. In terms of like the actual mechanic of it, you should never break your wrist over. Like your wrist should always be in the same position, and it's like this stays the same. The wrist doesn't do this when you catch a ground ball. It stays like
firm wrist. Man, all right.
Yeah. I'm practicing over here. Everybody's watching the YouTube. You don't think I'm not listening? I still play softball. I'll be out there at second base on Tuesday night, counting the hops. Well, tonight I should say. This comes out tonight. Amazing stuff, dude. I gotta ask, my last thing. If you see the jersey behind me, I got a personal thing with you here.
Yeah,
Mel.
we spanked
y'all,
that's
man.
The
Illinois orange.
Spanked y'all.
Fuck you, man. What you got to say something nice about the Illinois baseball program, though. We're not the SEC. We hosted that super regional. You guys did not.
So. I mean, they had a good team that year, man. I just think that people just overlooked us for whatever reason. We had like 8 big leaguers on that team, but
that team would be competitive versus my Cubs versus some squads, like maybe in a 3-game set or something. You look at some of the pitchers, obviously Brian Reynolds. Roll Coleman still playing?
No, he is not. Brian Reynolds, Jaron Kendall, who was a first-round pick, Will Toffee, who's in AAA, I believe, Jason DeLay, who's had some time in the big leagues with the Pirates, Kyle Wright, pitcher for us, Walker Buehler, a guy named Phil Pfeiffer, who was in AAA for a while, Xander Wheel, who got picked up in like the 5th round, Rhett Wise. I mean, we had some. Jordan Sheffield was first rounder, pitching the big leagues. Ben Bowden pitching the big leagues. Like, we were not short on talent. That is definitely something we were not short on, was talent.
Well, Dansby, I really appreciate you coming on, man. Thanks for taking the time. I know it's tough during the season on the road. I know you're very busy. Enjoyed having you.
No doubt. I appreciate it. I'm telling you, I love talking about baseball. I love coaching and like helping. If I can help somebody with how I process things, like I
Well,
love it.
I'm gonna get your
So
number.
I'm
I'm gonna shoot
appreciative.
you a text, and I'll need to keep
Please do.
picking your brain, man, because that's it's really good stuff. Thanks a
Please
lot, man.
do. Please do. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys. Dansby Swanson, shortstop, Atlanta Braves. Let's get back to the show. All right, that's Dansby Swanson. The Braves are surging. If I was Colin and I listened to that interview, I'd be very nervous.
I mean, the Braves are coming. We talked about this for the last couple months. Are the Mets going to run away with it? Well, it doesn't look like it.
Just the way that guy talks, I can't see the Braves slumping. Like, I can't see them getting into one of these stretches where, you just look right now. The Blue Jays are 1-9 in their last 10. Like, I just don't know if the Braves can do that in a 10-game stretch. If you have a guy like that every single day showing up who's like, we're going to hedge our bet if we lose a game, we know we're going to win tomorrow. Come on, man.
Well, and you hear the way he talks about the only focus is on winning that night. And if everybody's on board with that mindset, doesn't guarantee victory, but it puts you guys in a position to have success, to have a success as a team. And Bryce Harper was one of these guys like Dansby, where if he went 0 for 4 but we won the game, dude was happy. If he was 4 for 4 and we lost, a tough game, a team walked us off or we just blew the game, guy was pissed. The guy did not give a shit that he had 4 hits. He just wants to win. And with that collective mindset, and it doesn't surprise me that that's the Braves mentality in that clubhouse. And for decades, it seems like that's what the Braves have bred into their players.
They get like disrespected. I think in the like national acceptance of how dominant and like consistently good they are. You talk about the Green Bay Packers, people are like, "Oh, dude, the Packers every year, they're so good, this and that. What a great organization." The Cardinals get their D sucked a lot. There are a lot of organizations in sports get their D sucked before the Braves get credit for being a wagon. You bring it up, I'm like, yeah, dude. In the TBS, the Turner Network, being able to watch them as a kid every day, those 13 straight division championships, maybe as unbreakable as the record can get it for team professional. That didn't happen in 1930 when they had 6 teams or 12 teams. That happened,
and it shows you
in the middle of the steroid.
And it just shows you, because if you can do something like that for almost a decade and a half, you're not doing that with the same roster every year. Did they have a handful of guys that for that stretch? Sure, but I don't know if they had more than 4 or 5 guys on all of those teams, if that. So that just shows you that it's like the Cardinals seem to do the same thing. Just year after year, they just bring up these guys that seem to be ingrained from an early age with the ability and the knowledge of how to win. And the Braves are damn good at it.
Mm. Yeah, if I was a Mets fan, I'd be terrified right now.
Oh man, there's a little fear in his voice, just a tick. Even if you won't admit it,
just a little bit. Also, shout out Allbiz Pete. Internet's slowing down a little bit at HQ, so if you can't see Colin on the YouTube, just like and subscribe. Anyways, resubscribe, unsubscribe. All right, so we're going to talk to Charlie Black. I don't like teasing interviews, but I'm going to do it anyways. We're going to talk to Charlie Blackmon. And, that should be that's a guy I've been following for a while, so we should be back on Thursday with Charlie Blackmon. It's good to see you guys. I'm glad I want to get the second half going. I'm a second half guy.
We have momentum moving in the right direction, and we're going to do a show in 2 days. So we'll be right back in the saddle. Ready to keep rolling.
I'm going to have some awards, some first half awards. I'll tease one now. I'm going to piss some people off about my AL MVP award. And there's going to be a lot of people in Colin's neck of the woods that are going to be coming after me for my takes. But we give them back on Thursday. We'll be giving out our first half season awards. We'll be going through projections, picking our World Series winners from the first half, et cetera, stuff like that. We're also getting ready for the All-Star game. Thanks, guys, for subscribing and tuning in. That Dansby Swanson stuff's great, especially all the Braves fans that tuned in this week, too, just to hear Dansby and got to know us this week. Thank you guys very much for showing up. We very much appreciate your business.
Yeah, Dansby, just can't say enough about the guy. And he will be a hell of a coach one day. He will be a hell of a coach. Whether he takes over the Vanderbilt job or decides to stay in pro ball. I mean, this guy he's got a ton of knowledge, and he's going to help influence a lot of guys' careers.
Maybe a cameo with the Outlaws next season.
I'd love to see him out there. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be hard to get him out, during the season. What we'll have to do is we'll check the schedule. We'll play in a tournament in Atlanta. We'll take the Outlaws to Atlanta.
I swear to God, Dansby Swanson's gonna be showing up to one of Cooper's games and talking about like counting hops and
working through the ball. Yep.
Yeah, what was he saying? Watch the bottom of the baseball.
Work from the bottom of the baseball. Basically meaning, keeping your head down. When kids do this, when kids try and the chin goes up, right? You lose the ability to like work through the baseball. So, that's something. As soon as I get off here, I'm grabbing the glove, me and Coop. We're gonna throw him a few balls. We're gonna work on some shit. Let's go. Well, he's at Lackey's house, so I gotta go get him.
All right, go get him. I had an albatross last week, guys, so don't forget.
Congrats, man.
All right, thank you very much. We'll see you guys on Thursday. And again, subscribe, unsubscribe, resubscribe.
Yes, sir.
Until next time.